Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a beautiful weekend here in East Tennessee, and I hope you all enjoyed a wonderful Mom's Day yesterday for all the mothers that were out there. Hope you got my short on a message to all the mothers out there, thanking them for what they do. It's a thankless job in some cases, but they do a wonderful job at raising the children to be solid citizens and the like. But I hope you all enjoyed Mother's Day yesterday. We got to spend some time with the grands yesterday and hang out for a nice steak on the barbecue, a steak that came to us by way of Lazy J Farms and Butcher Shop. And with that said, we'll take a look at what the nonsense took place over the weekend on some of the weekend shows. We have a lot of politicians that are currently losing their minds and cannot grasp what it is that is actually happening in our government that is good. They just want to paintbrush everything as bad, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. Even though the man is out there doing the job that he said he was going to do with regard to getting our economy back on track and getting the tariff situation straightened out and fair trade among the world players here that we depend on getting our drugs, number one, and most of the products that we buy through Walmart or on Amazon anymore are coming directly from our countries that could be construed as an enemy in some cases. And we're not going to name each country as the media wants to do. Those poor people in those countries are suffering, and people here are suffering. And this is the cry coming out of mainstream media to everyone under this false pretense of delivering the news. They are once again painting everything as doom and gloom, and it's backfired one more time on them. They just cannot take any jokes coming out of the White House, either from Trump or anyone in a cabinet position that may be trying to put some levity to the craziness that's going on in bizarro world called the Democratic Party. And then the outliers of the Democratic Party that you'll see here in a little bit later, such as the Ragin' Cajun, are losing their respective minds over their own party's affiliation with Ilhan Omar and people of that nature that we know are not pro-American in any way, shape, or form. And then to have Donald Trump come out and accuse, in a joke, say that Chuck Schumer is now part of the Palestinians, I think is mildly amusing myself. But this guy, Lawrence O'Donnell, over on MSNBC has lost his mind over it. It's almost incredible at what you see coming out of MSNBC and the likes of CNN and, you know, the Rachel Maddows and everyone that's affiliated with these networks that are losing their respective minds over a joke. It's almost incredible. So I have to have you take a look at this right here.
Fake, disgusting news.
The rodeo clown of the Trump cabinet, Howard Lutnick, who has no experience in government and apparently no experience in decency, debased himself once again today, this time not with the stupidest words ever spoken by a commerce secretary about tariffs. He does that every day. This time it was with a goofy guffaw, bending over, laughing, and clapping when Donald Trump, in a Trumpian ramble reeking of dementia, called the first and only Jewish leader of the United States Senate a Palestinian?
They have Trump derangement syndrome. Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. Welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats.
Bending over, laughing.
Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian.
Bending over, laughing.
It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats.
Why? Why is Howard Lutnick laughing?
Because it was funny.
And he is the most pathetic and buffoonish court jester in the history of the American presidential cabinet. Howard Lutnick will go about his business doing public interviews in friendly venues, and he will never be asked, why did you laugh at that? He will be allowed to lie about tariffs everywhere he goes on television to his friendly interviewers, and he will never be asked, why did you laugh at Donald Trump saying Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian? We don't have any questions for Donald Trump about a moment like that, because we know the man's brain is broken and full of poison and always has been. He is a hateful hunk of stupidity and bigotry sitting in that chair.
Okay.
Obviously, they don't know when a joke is a joke, or they just take everything so seriously, or look for the gotcha in any statement that may come out of anyone's mouth regarding this administration, because they cannot accept that Donald Trump is actually doing the job he said he was going to do and making the chess moves across a multiple level board to accomplish what needs to be accomplished to get this country great again, wealthy again, and healthy again. And now they're going to whip up all kinds of nonsense and go out and protect the bad guys as their stance against what Donald Trump is actually doing to make this country better. It's amusing at best. And then over the weekend, several of people's lies came out, and they got caught in it, but there's no apologies for lying to their constituents or the press when they're being interviewed, such as this Jeffries character, Hakeem Jeffries. That ought to indicate something to you, just in the name alone, that this guy is not a stand-up individual. Let's just put it that way. And he gets caught in big lies, and he gets caught often in these lies, yet his ambition is to be Speaker of the House. And if the Democrats ever do get back in charge, which is what they think that they're putting together a coalition, the Bernie coalition, to get all of this to happen, may or may not happen. But let's take a look at him getting caught in bold-faced lies right here.
Drain the swamp. I didn't know the swamp was this dirty and this deep.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
The economy is collapsing. Trump tariffs are raising costs on hardworking American taxpayers. Small businesses are closing. Businesses and corporations are unable to invest and hire people. And Republicans are driving us toward a painful recession.
Let's have a look.
Tonight, Wall Street surging. The Dow up 564 points. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 each recovering all of their losses since President Trump announced steep tariffs on imports on April 2nd. It follows a strong jobs report. The economy adding 177,000 jobs in April. The unemployment rate holding steady. The first report fully factoring in President Trump's tariffs.
Young man, pick yourself up. Donald Trump and House Republicans promised the American people last year that they were going to lower costs on day one. But costs aren't going down, they're going up. Inflation is going up.
Inflation is going up.
As they say, as my grandkids say, Google it.
Yesterday.
Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal.
I said, say it again. What?
Inflation has come down a great deal.
Inflation is going up.
Holy hell!
Hakeem Jeffries should never be Speaker of the House or be relevant in any party at any given time. He's a sneak and a liar, and we know this. But we have a Congress that has quite a few sneaks and liars in it, and they get away with things such as the California contingent that's there, Mr. Shifty Schiff himself. He can lie with abandon, bold-faced lie to the press and you, and walk away unscathed. And this is what is wrong with some of the areas of our government right now that continually lie to us and give us false information so they can keep you in fear. Fear is the recipe for the Democratic Party's control over the population of the United States. They want you afraid of whatever the daily recipe is for that. Now they're talking about, oh my God, they're going to let in white South Africans that have wealth and are highly educated. Well, let me just give you a small story here about that. They're being pushed out of their homeland for reasons that are unbeknownst to any of us. But if they're highly educated and they can bring prowess to this country, whether it's in mathematics, whether it's in medicine, whether it's just running a massive business that will bring prosperity and manufacturing back to the United States, God bless. I hope more like them come. We let in the dregs of the earth, the criminals of the earth, and the murderers and cheats that are being rounded up right now in this country against all of the pressure from the Democratic Party to please leave these poor people alone. They even fly at your expense down to El Salvador to try to get a gangbanger brought back here that has already been removed from our soil. These people are not nice people. MS-13, Tren del Agua, and all of these prison gangs that were released into this country by Joe Biden need to be gathered up and done something with. And I think that Trump's idea about reopening Alcatraz is great. But now the left is going to lose their mind over that. It's unbelievable at the cost to our tax dollars to keep these people in the current prison systems that we have here. It's very, very expensive on a daily basis to keep these people housed. So if we can come up with a lesser thing, and I say take these people and let them do the work to bring back Alcatraz to a inhabitable jail for these people. Let them do the work. Why will they not let that happen? Unions are going to say you have to have union labor, and in some cases, that is a great thing. I know a lot of union members, and I have known a lot of union members through my lifetime, and there are good unions. But when we're stuck with a situation like having this many people that have to be rounded up, housed, and either deported or moved, they need a waiting area, and Guantanamo Bay is a little bit too far away for that, and we know that the criminal population in California is probably one of the highest across the land, only second to what's taking place in New York, where you have gang members in the streets beating up policemen that are trying to stop them from committing a crime. What did the media have to say all weekend about that? If they showed it at all, it was a snippet that got bypassed by all of the ranting and raving on the MSNBC and CNN talking heads that are out there with their anti-Trump. Trump derangement syndrome is alive and well in every one of these networks. And if you don't believe it, just turn it on for 15 minutes and you'll realize that they're not going to tell you anything that's current news. They just like to run down this particular party. So it keeps getting more and more bizarre out there among the Democratic elites, right on down to the rank and file members of the Democratic Party that feel that they have to come out with this kind of nonsense that you're going to see right here.
Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. You've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years.
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United? Waiting, 30,000 people are waiting. That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future. I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear action to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. I don't know what they're going to do.
Done. This is wrong.
One of the things that's interesting to me is that there is such gross and obvious incompetence and disregard for our institutions. This is not the behavior of people who seem like they believe they have to answer to voters in 18 months.
Yeah.
That worries me.
Yeah.
Not that they're not worried, but that they don't think that they should be worried because maybe they don't have to worry about an election at all.
Yes, that is the thing to worry about. And I think it's also true that the people who warned us about how bad this was going to be, the people people who were really hysterical, like really the doomsayers, they were all right.
Oh, crap.
About how bad this is. And what we're experiencing is not just somebody who's fighting against the Democratic Party, he's fighting against the democratic process.
Oh, crap.
He doesn't think there should be elections. And they are consolidating power. They're disempowering Congress, ignoring Congress, defunding agencies or closing agencies. That's Congress's job. That's not the president's job. When they're defying court orders, that's them saying that the courts don't have authority over the president. That's consolidating all power in one man. That's authoritarianism.
Oh, crap.
And that's what you do when you don't ever want to have an election because you want to stay in power for life. All the worst predictions about what he'd be like are true.
Does Rachel Maddow, what does she have? She's got nothing. Nothing. She gets no ratings. All she does is to talk about Trump, 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 Trump.
Should you have withdrawn earlier, given someone else a bigger chance?
I don't think it would have mattered.
Right.
We left at a time when we had a good candidate.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
She was fully funded. And what happened was, and become so successful on our agenda, it was hard to say, now I'm going to stop now. I can't guarantee we're going to solve everything, but I can guarantee we can make everything better.
It is bizarro world anymore among these people, and it's hard to believe that in this day and time, this wonderful time in this country to be alive, with all that is happening, with rockets returning, rocket boosters returning on their own, being reused, cars that drive themselves, and things of that nature, to be out in the streets and making the statements that you just heard there, and other things that are just absolutely, in my estimation, ridiculous to even contemplate, never mind listen to. These nutcases that are out there trying to convince you that this is a bad country. Go, like I have, and tour this world on business trips or vacations and see what you have here is second to none anywhere in the world, whether it is beaches, wonderful God-given mountains that you can go into and enjoy a day and have the freedom. Everyone in this country, no matter what these idiots are telling you, has freedom. We are free to do what we like to do as long as it stays inside the box of laws that were established in this country to keep the peace. And we always looked up to our police officers, firefighters, first responders, all through this land, and that is slipping away now because there's ideology that did not quite make mainstream that the Democratic Party and the news media would like to see continue to happen, and it's being stymied by people that are thinking individuals with common sense, which what most of the graduating classes of our universities that are downtrodden and have to have Palestinian movement exercises on their campus are devoid of common sense. If they had common sense, they wouldn't be out in yes-or-you're-a-fart headdresses and their faces covered up so they're not recognized, or they're not even students. They're being paid to go in and protest, and we have to watch this, and we have to have children that we're paying a lot of money for education that can't receive the education they're there to do. During finals, they take over a library. And that's allowed to happen. And that's mainstream? That's not. and it has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed sooner rather than later, because it's damaging, very damaging. And that's going to bring us to the Obamas. Trump's offered to help build his library because he's over $800 million with a bunch of lawsuits involved in this. And if you have taken a look at what is going to be the Obama library, it looks like a prison in a third world country that, you would house your dissidents in, and almost be fitting. But whether or not it will ever get finished at the overruns that they're talking about, maybe they do need Trump because he is a builder and could probably have helped with it. But my guess is the DEI hires that were originally hired to map this thing out and start the building of it failed miserably, or just didn't bother to show up for work a couple of days a week, and they didn't use the proper people that were supposed to be used, which is in a city like where that is going, in Illinois. You have unions, and they have a reason for having unions. The operating engineers, the people that know how to do things, were not hired to start this, and therein lies the problem with cost overruns and everything that go with it. So maybe they should have asked for some advice and help from the unions that are in the business to build buildings of this nature. So let's take a look right here.
President Obama, if he wanted help, I'd give him help because I'm a really good builder and I build on time, on budget. He's building his library in Chicago. It's a disaster. He wants woke people to build it. Well, he got woke people. Cost overruns, a job is stopped. Really many millions of dollars over budget. But he didn't want construction workers. He wanted people that never did it before, and he's got a disaster in his hands. I think it's bad for the presidency. It's a disaster.
A few moments later.
What the hell are you talking about?
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
If it ever gets finished, it will be absolutely amazing. So that brings us to Newark, New Jersey. You all heard about the slowdown at Newark Airport and what's going on with United Airlines cutting back flights coming in and out of Newark. You have a very congested airport area in what they call New York Center, which is comprised of JFK Airport, or the old Idlewild Airport, and then you have LaGuardia. Then you have the one in New Jersey, which is called the Newark Airport, And then you have Teterboro Airport all converging in that one small airspace. So there is no room for a hiccup there. They're recognizing this, and they're trying to replace the copper cabling and get it over to the modern way of doing things, which is fiber optic cable, much easier to work with and much more accurate than the old copper cables that were used in these devices that are needed to run that airspace. So they're upgrading, and during the process of upgrading, they're going to have to slow down some of the traffic coming in and out of Newark, and I think that's a good thing. I traveled out of Newark Airport for a good number of years, and it was, in some cases, not fun with delays, and departure delays and arrival delays were always a problem there. And we know that now, and we see it. So, but the Newark mayor made news last week, of course, and let's just take a look right here at that.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
We are making it as easy as possible for illegal aliens to leave America. Any illegal alien can simply show up at an airport and receive a free flight out of our country.
If you're a Trump supporter, don't fucking look at me when I roll by or walk by, because you don't want this. Remember, I'm Latina. You don't want this. You don't get to fucking look at me and look at my body if you fucking support Trump. You freak.
No one is above the law.
Nobody's above the law.
No person is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
You're not above the law. You're not an elite. You're not untouchable. And so it's nice to see that the rule of law has returned.
Apparently some guys aren't willing to date trans girls, but I just don't understand why. Can you even give me one good reason why someone wouldn't like trans girls?
Americans are getting lazy. Too many holidays, too much Netflix, not enough work. You wonder why the country's slipping? Because half the nation thinks self-care means staying home on government checks.
So, there you have it, and now it's time for a small trip into Stupid Town to see what exactly was going on there throughout the weekend and the end of last week, which was kind of a turbulent week all in all with regard to everybody's worry about the stock market and the like. But the stock market is not a barometer for any of us to be sitting there and wringing your hands over, because it goes up and it goes down, and it's always been that way. There is no recession in the future, and no matter what Jerome Powell comes out and tries to manipulate you into thinking, this guy has made a major mistake in not lowering these interest rates. Just a bit would have helped, but he wants to manipulate the stock market to keep you in fear of what this administration has a plan to make happen. he wants to prevent that from happening. He has a very short term left in this job, and he's going to do everything he can for his 15 minutes of fame, and don't you worry about it. We're in good hands in this country right now with the administration that we have, and if we let them do the job that they are capable of doing, and that includes, folks, Doge and the like, and stop listening to the bizarro people that are out there with their own ideologies and their own ideas of what is mainstream and what is normal or what should be mainstream, then we'll be a whole lot better off. I want you to have peace in your heart. And let's take a look here at a walk through Stupid Town, and we'll get your opinions in the comment section below after this broadcast today. So take a look right here.
Maybe we need a schism with the so far progressive left. I want to read something. Our country should be more fearful of white men because they're causing most of the deaths within this country. Ilhan Omar. Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today.
Let's do the simple math. And probably 69%, roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November, maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math, are going to be white. Of that, 48%, maybe a little more, are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33 1/3% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart.
Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacy.
So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men who vote about a third of everybody that votes in the election.
To stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
Liar. Liar. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? And then when it's over, if you want to caucus with the Democrats, fine. We agree with a lot of things that you do, but we don't believe we ought to be running against white men. In fact, we don't think we ought to be running against any gender, any ethnic group, any race, any religion, or anything else.
Domestic terrorism rooted in white supremacy is the greatest terrorist threat we face in the homeland.
Goddamn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours.
Yeah.
Why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Start your own.
It's hard to believe, but as I said, we should not let these people influence us in any way, shape, or form. We all have the smarts to understand. 77 million of us had the smarts to put this administration into power and get rid of the decrepit, broken down administration of Biden-Harris, that we dodged a huge bullet by not letting her into our daily lives any more than she already tries to break into it with her word salads and misinformation and no basis or platform to build on, and she'll be back one more time to try to convince you that she is ultra smart and has a plan. They have no plan, folks. They need to come up with one if they are to save their party, but there's no concrete plan there of any kind other than reopening the border to get more voters in. And by the way, this is what it was about. They don't want people being deported because every deportation that takes place is a lost vote for the Democratic Party, and that was how they arranged it to be. And if you didn't see that, you must be deaf, because it was plain and simple and in front of you. And after that visit from Stupid Town, we're going to wish you a very, very happy, peaceful Monday, the rest of this day. Please ask God to come into your heart. Please ask Jesus to come into your heart. And please give all power and glory to God Almighty for everything we have in this country. And we were on the verge of losing this, but through prayer and perseverance, we will survive, and so will this administration until the job is complete and we move on to the next ordained person to have to run against the Democratic Party's best. Is AOC there? Is Jasmine Crockett going to be it? Is old Bernie Sanders going to be it? I don't know, but it's possible, because too many of the oligarchs have all the money, and I need some of it so I can retire. So there's Bernie, and then we have several others that think that they are the up-and-coming party favorites. Jasmine Crockett, Hakeem Jeffries, and do I need to go on any further? And it would not surprise me if Newsom and Schiff doesn't get together to run in 2028. But that would be the most amusing election season that we could ever live through. So with that, we're going to say, Kaiser and I want you to stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned to the Kaiser Report for more information and a look around this country and the world to see what's going on. We have a deal with China. Stock market's doing great today. Stay tuned. We'll be back to you tomorrow with more information. So, God bless. Bye-bye now.